Gordon, and I'm going to demonstrate how I set up a square starting line. For the purpose of this discussion, I begin to set the line after I've placed the starting pin and the windward mark is set. I then anchor the committee boat, making a first try at a square starting line of the appropriate length. When anchoring, the scope on the anchor line needs to be set so that it can be shortened or lengthened to adjust the starting line angle. After the committee boat has settled, I check the squareness of the line between the boat and the pin using a sight compass or my own, quote, framing square method, unquote. If I need to make a slight adjustment, I can use the scope on the anchor as my tool to adjust the boat forward or backward. If that is not enough, the pin can be moved by a mark boat. Do not tow the pin forward. See the video on setting marks to properly relocate the pin. Let's talk for a minute about sighting compasses and the details about the line checking procedure. Also called a hand bearing compass, sighting compasses allow you to make direct eye contact with your target while taking a compass reading. They provide increased accuracy over standard compasses when measuring bearings to a fixed target. There are several types, but I'll just show one today. Now the line checking procedure details. When I have a sighting compass, I aim it at the windward mark and get a reading. I then subtract 90 degrees to get the desired bearing from the boat to the starting pin. I point the compass to the adjusted bearing and look down that line to verify that the starting pin is properly placed. Remember, if we're too far forward, all we're going to do is take the anchor line and let out some more line. Just let the line run, and we move our boat back. Without a compass, my procedure is similar, but another step is needed. Before checking on the location of the starting pin, I first make sure the boat is pointing directly at the windward mark. The anchored committee boat swings slightly back and forth with the wind shifts, so I wait until my anchor line lines up with the center line of the boat and is pointing directly at the windward mark. Now I'm ready to look 90 degrees to the left to check on the location of the starting pin. To determine that direction, I look along the front railing of our pontoon boat or the edge of something else that is perpendicular to the center line of the boat. That line of sight should be 90 degrees away from the line to the windward mark, and I should see the starting pin on or very close to that direct line. Now that we see how I set up a square line, three things that are a little more complicated can be considered: dealing with wind shifts, length of line, mitigating committee boat bias. On a day with significantly shifting wind, neither the course nor the starting line can really be square all of the time. In setting up the course, you try to set the windward leg to reflect an average between the extreme wind shifts in each direction. When you set the starting line, it too should be an average of the perfect line for the left shift and the perfect line for the right shift. When the wind moves away from the average, one end of the line will be favored and sailors will want to start nearer that end. In a left shift, a boat near the pin end will be further upwind and therefore ahead of a boat at the committee boat end. Similarly, in a right shift, a boat near the committee boat will be further upwind and ahead. I try to time the starting sequence with the wind oscillations so that the course and the line will be square at the starting gun. When the wind starts to move back to the center from one of the extremes, it is usually a good time to begin the starting sequence. The goal of the race committee is to set a line where every boat can get an equal start. First, the line needs to be square enough that all boats will start on starboard. Not like this. The line must be long enough that every boat is able to establish a clear air lane and the boats are not lee-bowed or blanketed by the boats next to them as they come off the starting line. The rule of thumb is that the line should be 1 to 1.5 boat lengths for each boat in the race. In windy conditions, it should be at the long end of that range. Even a casual observer will notice that many boats tend to want to start at the committee boat end of the line, almost by default. The committee boat bias results from the rule that says starboard boats have right of way over port boats. A boat to the left of another boat needs a substantial lead in order to tack to port and cross ahead of the starboard boat that was to her right. A boat on the right of another boat is free to tack any time. Many sailors feel this consideration is more important than any other starting strategy. The logical result of this strategy is to start at the committee boat. There's frequently a crowd at the committee boat end while the rest of the line is clear. This is not the place to talk about why this is bad for the sailors, but we want to alleviate the problem it can cause for the race committee. General recalls. Either there are lots of boats over early, or an over early boat near the committee boat obscures the view of the entire starting line, making it impossible to identify individual culprits. In order to solve the problem, we need to make the pin end of the line more attractive to some of the sailors. We do this by making the starting line somewhat pin favored, not so favored that we will have the same problem at the other end, but enough so that the fleet spreads out. 5 degrees seems to be a good balance, but some fleets have such a strong committee boat bias that more is necessary. Balancing all the variables to get an even start for most of the fleet is a major challenge for the race committee, but it's also a major satisfaction when you get it right. Thanks for watching.